Okay, I think we're all set. Good morning, everyone, from me as well. Welcome on the second panel of the second day of this very engaging conference. I would like to thank APSTE and Resource for organizing this event. My name is Liliya Goranova. I represent SeeNext, and today we will be talking about data. So in today's market environment, you know that it's very dynamic for any industry, but especially for the energy market, things can sometimes sway in split seconds. And we discussed that in the previous panel, actually. And so data is here to help us in terms of the digitalization of the energy transition, and we will try to sort of dispel with these gentlemen here, how is this happening? And we have today with us Peter Nemcek from CyberGrid, Kaloyan Milushev from Fluence, Nikola Gabrovski from the Bulgarian Energy Exchange, the Independent Bulgarian Exchange, and Martti from Blijswijk from Siemens. And gentlemen, I would like to give you the opportunity to present yourselves and your companies, but also to sort of set the stage for what we will be talking about. I would like you, if you're able in your presentation, to sort of give us your view on what is the importance of data in the real-time power markets in nowadays, and how does your organizations actually use data to leverage information and to aid monetizing renewable assets and different business models. So Peter, let's start with you.
Thank you, Lily. Yeah, it's an important topic, and but let me first start with short introduction. So at CyberGrid, as many of you here, we strongly believe that energy should be renewable. But as we could hear yesterday, and especially today in the previous panel, we need also a lot of flexibility in the system to balance the grid, to manage the grid. This is why we decided at CyberGrid that we would like to unlock and harness as much flexibility as possible. And to this extent, we developed a flexibility management platform that can aggregate different flexibility assets. This might be batteries, renewable energy sources, distributed generation, loads, commercial, industrial loads, as well as domestic loads like EV charging stations, heat pumps. So you have now a pool of different flexibility assets that can be connected via our flexibility management platform called CyberNOC. And the basic requirement to be able to manage this is, of course, measurement data and flexibility forecasting data. So there is a lot of data flowing into the system from these resources. And on the other side, if we want to monetize this flexibility on different markets, balancing markets, intraday markets, we also need to understand the prices. The price curves, the price signals, the price indexes from the previous days are important for us to design or to generate bits that are then also accepted on the market, and that we can also optimize and automate the whole process from the asset that generates or consumes energy all the way through the forecasting of this flexibility and generating bits, supplying these bits to the market, getting back the confirmation, and then when the activation time comes or when the TSO sends the activation trigger, that we can also automatically then dispatch the signals to all the assets that will provide this flexibility for the balancing service, for example. So yeah, this is actually then the value that we can bring to our customers, because at the end of the day, the owners of the flexibility assets are, of course, being compensated, and they receive revenues, and this is directly the value of the data that actually flows back and forth And just for example, in Easter weekend, there were some issues on the Austrian grid, and just simple power to heat unit of 5 megawatts was able to generate 90,000 euros just by providing secondary control over that weekend. And of course, it got free thermal energy as well at the same time. So one of the examples, but there are many more, how actually the flexibility can generate new revenue streams for the customers. Thank you.
Kaloyan?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Lily. Thanks to Apste also for the organization of the event, and panel also. Thanks to the audience for the attention. Well, Fluence is a market leader in terms of battery energy storage, utility scale. We are actually positioning ourselves next to the customer, next to our customers, but also main stakeholders to help unlock barriers and also help enhancing markets on their way to install more flexibility to the grid. So when it comes to monetizing investment into a storage asset, then it's a lot about volatility, about price signals. So for us, we use a lot of data providers. We are also in a way a data provider to our customers and stakeholders in order to calculate a favorable business case, in order to be able to discuss business cases with our customers, but in order to also track the way of how markets are shaping and evolving, and how we want to prioritize those as well. But also on the other hand, we as well acquired a software called Nespera, which is an asset performance management software. So that's also another way of how we are positioning ourselves as a data provider for renewables as well as storage asset owners, and help them to operate their portfolio more efficiently. So maybe that's in a short for now.
Nikola?
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Nikola Gabrovski, and I'm a business development manager. Good morning. I'm Nikola Gabrovski. I'm a business development manager at IBEX, the Bulgarian Power Exchange. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for the organization and for the possibility to be here today. I'm flattered to be in front of this audience. And of course, I will be very glad, and I will appreciate very much your questions after my introduction. Well, I'm here as a representative of a power exchange. I'm working at IBEX for 10 years already, so I can say that I have quite an extensive experience in energy trading in organized markets. But today I'm here as a representative of a company that is primarily and exclusively dealing with data, because the power exchange is actually a data transformer, so to say. We are collecting data on a daily basis, 24/7, from our members in terms of orders, price quotations, volumes, etc. And we are transforming this data with algorithms and specific rules into clearing prices, into traded volumes, flows, cross-border flows included. So this is actually our main business. We are making this data available not only to our members, but also to everybody that is interested in this data. We have different channels in distributing this data. Our policy so far, since day one of our operations, is to make all the data that is not commercially sensitive and protected by our bilateral contracts with our members, to make this data available to the public through, of course, our main channel, which is the IBEX website. But not only, we are offering also a service, specific service, that is helping all interested parties in getting automatically the public data via the so-called application programming interface, or API, to getting this data in real time, and in this way to integrate their systems, so ERP systems, algorithmic trading systems, robots, etc. Yeah, and thus to make their participation on the exchange more effective. Of course, our members accessing our platforms is also able to retrieve real-time data that is helping them to adjust continuously their trading strategy. But this is another channel, and this data is subject to different rules of distribution. Of course, during the panel, I hope that I will be able to share with you the progress and different markets and segments and products that we are going to introduce in the next months. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much in this preliminary stage. So
Thank you, Nikola. So, Martti, give us your views on the importance of data, and also what do you do at Siemens?
Yes, thank you very much. Very happy to be here. My name is Martti from Blijswijk, and I work at Siemens Power Technologies International. We are a Siemens internal energy consultancy consisting of basically two main branches, an energy business advisory branch and a power system consultancy branch. And a lot of our work is model driven. And in order to, and these can be models of an energy system as a whole, to, for instance, do a decarbonization study for at a country level, or a power system model. And we use these to make designs for grids, microgrids, but also national grids, etc. Now, models are data-driven, and if you want to use a model properly, it's important that you put the right data in. Garbage in is garbage out. And it is very important to use the right models with the right data if you're thinking about the long-term future. Right now, a lot of investments are being made in energy assets such as solar and wind, but also in supporting assets. Grids need to be expanded, battery capacity is being enlarged. These assets that are being constructed today will probably still be there 10 years from now, 20 years from now. When it comes to grids, they will be there 50 years from now. So there is a huge path dependency that is being introduced, and decisions that are made wrong today are likely to still be wrong 50 years from now, and will be difficult to change. So that's why it's important to use your models correctly in order to improve your decision making. We do a lot of things in this respect. One particular topic I would like to highlight today is the role of getting basically the future role of demand flexibility accurately represented into our models. The massive integration of solar and wind brings a lot of volatility on the supply side, and we have already discussed during this conference, and I think all European countries have experienced that this year alone, situations with negative electricity prices. In recent months, we have also seen the other opposite, with prices for power reaching thousands of euros per megawatt hour. And this is not something that will remain like this forever for various reasons. There are large incentives to solve the situation, such as through the use of storage. But what I see in practice, but this is a topic I would really like to get the other panelists' input on as well, but also the audience, of course, feel free to talk to me about that, that a lot of long-term energy planning models are still based on input data that considers the load as unchangeable. So we are trying to optimize our grids, our battery storage capacities, and all other things for a situation 20 years into the future, assuming that a load pattern remains kind of the same as it is today. And I think this is The reason why that is being done is because load has traditionally always been ignored. It is relatively valuable compared to the cost of generation. So it was never really worth looking into this deeper because, yeah, the cheaper solution was just to build another gas-fired power plant. In the context of this renewable transition, I think that is rapidly changing, and we need some data on what is actually driving the demand and what is the potential to potentially shift it at some point. Demand will probably remain valuable, but maybe it can be shifted in time. But under what conditions and to what extent that can be done is a topic that I think is very interesting and we need to get right. And yeah, that's what we need data for in order to start doing that properly.
You may not have realized it up until now, but obviously data is everywhere and everything in our business. But let's start with the basic. Let's start from the beginning. And Martti said something in terms of garbage in, garbage out. Peter, CyberGrid solutions heavily rely on a lot of different sources of data.
Yep.
Fluence also Siemens, obviously the power exchange as well, gathering data from different clients. How accessible is actually that data, and how consistent is it so that you can all actually predict your models and offer your clients a successful business model? So not even the quality of data, but the access to data. Where do we stand here today in terms of that?
Yeah, you're right. It's not easy to actually get to all these data. So for example, on the asset side, when we would like to connect flexibility assets, either from industrial customers or even batteries, renewables, CHPs, there's always a question of communication protocols, IT security, and so the interoperability of communication, of the data connection, I think this is the key if we want to really harness as much flexibility as possible in the future. Of course, today, when there is still a lot of low-hanging fruit, meaning there is still a lot of industrial customers that have flexible processes or flexible loads, there is a lot of batteries, large-scale utility batteries coming into the system, which can also provide the most, the highest quality of flexibility service. But so when we are talking about these large assets, the interoperability perhaps is not yet so critical because the cost of connection in comparison with the amount of flexibility that you can get is still manageable, and it still makes a good business case. But you know, when we move towards the residential customers, residential flexibility, this is where the interoperability and easy access to the metering data and to the control possibilities become really crucial, because every euro spent on the connection or the communication is actually already damaging the business case. So here, the accessibility of, for example, metering data from the distribution system operators would be crucial, and not just, you know, once per day for previous day, but actually real-time access to maybe minute-by-minute data at least. Although for, let's say, secondary control services, we would need second-by-second data, or at least 2 second by 2 second. And of course also the connection. It's important that the connection is secure, to be able to establish a VPN connection, to have a secure data channel, to transport these data from the asset to the flexibility management platform in our case. Yeah, so I think in the future, the interoperability topic will be more and more important. Already today, we could see that in Europe, There are many projects, Horizon projects, where European Commission is subsidizing the development of interoperability solutions. One such project, for example, is Interconnect, where we are also partnering to actually help smart homes become more interoperable so that different energy services, also energy efficiency, but on the other side also flexibility services could be introduced, in that case to the DSOs for non-frequency ancillary services. And there is another such project, Interstore, where we particularly address the interoperability of storage solutions like battery storage solutions, also heat pumps. So in this case, for example, we decided to promote IEEE 2030.5, which is a communication standard that is gaining a lot of traction around the world, especially in US. Australia selected this as their national standard for distributed energy sources. And in that particular Horizon project, we are developing a free of charge open source software that will allow implementation of this IEEE 2030.5 protocol to be used by maybe inverter manufacturers or RTU manufacturers or any other system integrator that would like to connect these assets to different energy management systems to simply use it and to decrease the barriers for connecting these assets and doing something valuable with them.
Nikola, Peter mentioned second-by-second data gathering. What is your view and your experience, given that the power exchange gathers data from many different clients? Is that even conceivable, second-by-second data gathering? Do we need to improve the access to data? What do you think?
Okay, thank you. So first I would like to specify that the power exchange is a wholesale market. So the data that we are gathering is the data from our members that are typically not only Bulgarian but also European companies trading with electricity or generators or final consumers. We have currently more than 130 members. So the information that we are receiving, not only in terms of orders that they're placing on our systems, but also in terms of urgent market messages, as we are calling them. This is an information that we are collecting as a data platform that is mandatory to be submitted to an operator of this data under the remitter regulation. I think that most of the participants here are familiar with this. The data and the second-by-second possibility to retrieve data is available not only through IBEX platforms, but also through different services that we are offering. As I mentioned, an API connectivity with our database and platforms, and we are also offering a service that is including data distribution through an SFTP channel. So yes, there are market segments. I'm speaking now about the intraday market, which is the market closer to the delivery period. And there we are basically producing data that is that must be updated every second. On our website and through the channels for public data, we are distributing data every 15 minutes. But if you are a member of the exchange and if you are participating in the intraday market through an API connectivity to the platform. A company may not only place orders and conclude deals, but also can retrieve information on real time, information about the market depth, best offer, best bid, best ask, etc. So this information is really accessible in real time. And this is one of the main advantages of the organized market. We are using also very advanced technologies. Maybe the audience is acquainted with the fact that we are working together with the biggest European power exchange. This is Nordic Power Exchange, Nord Pool, that is also operating not only in Nordics, in Baltics, but in Germany, France, here in Bulgaria and Croatia, and also soon in Romania, because there will be a second power exchange. There will be a competition in this, just an interesting fact. I mean, everywhere this technology is the same, and if you have the expertise, knowledge and experience to operate with the data here in Bulgaria, you can operate everywhere, almost everywhere in Europe. Well, to improve this, it's quite hard to say whether there is a room for improvement, because what we are aiming at is to make the data available as soon as we have it. So as soon as we have this data. So I think that distributing the data in real time for the shortest market segment as an intraday market is the best we can do. It's another thing whether in the future the granularity of the products will be reduced, the gate closure time, meaning the possibility to trade closer to delivery, and this will improve in the future. Now the granularity in these segments are 15 minutes as a product, and I'm really convinced that this will change also in the future. The granularity will become smaller, the gate closure time will be closer to delivery, so the information will be more relevant, let's say, as an output. But we are continuously, making this data available in real time.
Okay, so Martti, let's imagine we are now in that point in time where what Nikola was just saying, that data is already even closer, delivery time is even closer to the delivery of energy, delivery of data. But I'm sure there are other issues that are still outstanding in terms of business modeling when it comes to using that data. What are these challenges? What comes after that?
I would say that the main challenge that will continuously play a role is the fact that even if you have all the data today and it's absolutely perfect, it might still be wrong for a situation 20 or 30 years from now. The future is uncertain, the world changes, and you need to take that into account when making, for instance, an investment decision today or a design decision for your grid. So a certain degree of uncertainty will remain. And you need to take that into account through appropriate planning methodologies. We do this as well for especially challenges such as expanding power grids, also in the context of integrating different energy infrastructures, electricity, gas, hydrogen, because something massive can change or probably will change there in the coming decades. So making the wrong decisions there might lead you to a situation where you build a brand new double capacity electricity grid only to find out that everybody is using hydrogen 30 years from now. But to get back to the data, yeah, the data is as it is today. The more of it, the better. That definitely helps. But the challenge remains how you apply that to long-term planning exercises where you are dealing with a future situation where this data is likely to be different than it is today.
So any breakthrough could actually, you know, distort the data, and then we're back to, well, not square one, but at least we need to do some adjustments there. So we need to be flexible, is what you're saying, in terms of model planning, but also have a basis there for future planning to actually try and predict maybe the future without a crystal ball.
I think the main thing is that you shouldn't use a model to try to predict the future.
Okay.
I think this is the main thing there. A model is typically useful to help you understand how something works, how a situation might work in the future. But it's not a predictive tool typically. And it can help you. But if you use it wrongly, it can harm you.
So real-time data, we're using it and close to as soon as delivered, we're using it for real-time situations right now. And right now, Kaloyan, if a company has a very diversified portfolio, it can actually be very hard for it to monetize each and every asset in this portfolio. If you add energy storage to that mix, it becomes even more challenging, as we have been discussing yesterday and today. How can we then use real-time data right now to actually leverage these assets, these co-generating assets, for example, in a portfolio?
Yep, thanks, Lily. I would take a step back again to just actually outline the fact that in order to unlock flexibility, we need, actually all of us here, plus other actors, we need like flexibility platforms, such as CyberGrid. We need consultants to help us sort garbage in, garbage out, right, Martti, as you said. We need also the energy exchange, such as IBEX, to help us bring market transparency, basically, in terms of wholesale markets. But we also need various energy markets, such as ancillary services, balancing markets, etc., to provide the right signals. This differs from country to country very much. If you imagine like how a battery asset operates in different countries, would be very different. So in UK there are like 10 markets that you could trade on simultaneously, basically, or make use of those as different revenue streams. In Ireland, for example, your asset has to be compliant, so our assets have to be compliant with a response time of under 150 milliseconds, which is, a normal human blink is about 300 to 400 milliseconds. So yeah, there is really, the relevance of real-time data is super crucial. But also, on the other hand, when it comes to asset performance management of solar, wind, hydro, and storage assets, well, as well, you need some sort of support. So those type of operators, of asset owners, would need support in terms of how to collect the data of those different types of assets, how to analyze the data, and also actually unlock their time to not spend like most of the time of just collecting and analyzing, but actually sharing the outcomes and bring it and drive it to actions with service teams, etc. So that's why I also highlighted the importance of softwares such as our software as well, but there are different ones for us, performance management softwares. And because like it really helps, as I mentioned again, to not focus the whole time in data collecting and analyzing, let that be done in a platform, but I rather like spend time on sharing and acting, sharing insights with the relevant stakeholders and acting. Yeah, so that I would say is crucial in terms of how asset performance, let's say, operates how asset performance management software is operating with various assets, it's very, very different. So for example, for storage, I'd say critical would be for storage assets to anticipate and act before an outage it occurs, instead of just trying to manually fix it afterwards. So that's something that could be used as a predictive maintenance service from those type of softwares. Also for solar, wind assets, it's also crucial. Also similar type of service in terms of predictive maintenance, but there it would come more to establishing like AI digital twins, which will help you to monitor the asset and see where really like energy losses occurs, and then root cause analysis would help to identify the reasons why, and this happens like actually months before, which helps in some cases. We have like use cases where we identified such issues, for example, for wind turbines 6 months before, and that helped a customer to save almost $500 million with like already taking the right steps to when the alarm kicked in that it's actually already not performing well 6 months later. After the notifying one, they were able to already have the components in place and just exchange it. So it's, yeah, real-time data is super crucial, say in terms of both ways, unlocking flexibility with identifying like the right business case when you want to invest in storage assets. But also, on the other hand, once you made this investment and also in renewable assets, then you need like data platform to be able to operate them more efficiently.
So we're now, you're helping me move into the, let's say, the real deployment, the real world deployment of data, so to speak. And I wanted to ask Peter, so CyberGrid also has solutions for small scale projects and assets. And what do you do there? Because I imagine our audience now thinking when it comes to data, maybe we're talking about large-scale wind farms or any other solar park that is maybe in the hundreds of megawatts, but actually data can be used for small-scale projects as well. What do you do there?
Yeah, so that's the challenge that, is already here, I would say. We see with electrification of the transport and electrification of heat sector or heat generation with heat pumps, that there will be the need to manage all these devices, all these assets, their flexibility, in order to help basically the system to be balanced. And here we are talking about millions of such devices. So of course the algorithms, the control methods needs to be different than with, let's say, larger flexibility assets. For example, in Austria, we have a project where our mother company, EVN, is aggregating 3,000 residential and small business customers that have either PV and battery or EV charging station and PV or just the battery. So they are, and heat pump. So we are trying to connect all these assets and somehow optimize their energy consumption in terms of daily intraday prices. So, you know, there are possibilities to optimize, for example, the charging and discharging of a home battery in terms of hourly intraday prices, so that on one side the electricity supplier benefits, but on the other side also the final customer benefits from this. So yeah, we are seeing that, of course, artificial intelligence will play a role here because we will have a mass amount of connections, but also mass amount of data, measurement data, scheduling data, flexibility data, and of course also market data, especially balancing intraday. And in the future, we are expecting also DSOs to launch markets for flexibility services. We can see this is already happening in some European countries, but I think it still lags behind some schedules. But this will come in the future. So for this, we will have to develop also different control strategies and bidding strategies.
When you say lags behind, is it Southeast Europe region and central parts of Europe that are lagging behind, or also other parts of?
All over Europe.
All over Europe. Okay. Well, in that case, Nikola, if we are lagging behind, are we catching up? Does IBEX plan new products, new offerings, so that we actually catch up?
Yeah, we are always trying to catch up at IBEX. I mean, when we established the company in 2015, we have had to catch up a lot. I mean, we were in delay compared to other markets with maybe 10 years. So we are always in this situation. But this is, a real challenge. We are very enthusiastic in trying to compensate different trends that we missed for different reasons. Currently, where we are focused and where we allocate our resources is to develop an organized market for the guarantees of origin in Bulgaria. This is something that is missing in Bulgaria. There is a market, but this is an OTC. This is bilateral trades, and there is no data from these trades that is generated basically in terms of price signals and volumes. So this is one of our projects that we are working in quite extensively. Our plans is to be ready for testing in the next quarter. We are working closely and I should say in a good partnership with the Bulgarian registry. In English is something like CDA, yeah? I'm convinced that we will be able the second half of this year to launch this market. This is important not only for the development of the renewable generation investment in general, but it is important for us because this will be a segment that is not kind of directly under the license that IBEX has. I mean, this is something that will give us different experience, and on one hand, on the other, we will be able to use our expertise in the energy field. Of course, we are working also toward different or additional segments on the electricity market. I'm speaking about the intraday auctions that should start next month. We are now in an intensive testing period with this. Of course, we are also working for reducing the granularity of the products of the day-ahead market. Now, currently, we are working with hourly products, and from Q1 2025, this granularity should be reduced, not only in Bulgaria but in all other countries in Europe. because this is a common European process to 15 minutes, and this is a direction. And this is not just the final step, and I'm convinced that this direction will be followed in the next years.
So a busy pipeline then for at IBEX for the next few quarters in terms of products. Kaloyan already mentioned the real world usage of data and how it can help. But Martti, can you give us an example from your experience where you use the data to help a client in terms of choosing the right business model, and how did that play out?
Yeah, this is what we do all the time, and different sources of data, different types of models, different types of questions. It's a bit of a general question to answer so generally. But yeah, basically all our projects rely on data, and what I know is that the quality of data often also determines the quality of the results. If you don't know what your network is like, you also can't model it, and then it becomes very difficult to address certain questions. So that is always a constraint.
Okay. And Kaloyan, you mentioned already that predictive maintenance is probably what distinguishes battery storage systems, the asset management software of battery storage systems. And is there anything else that actually we could put as a distinctive element in that regard?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, for battery storage, it's crucial to anticipate and act before outages occur. And most of the cases, this would be based on monitoring temperature anomalies into the system, because for those of you who are more familiar with battery storage, holding like the right temperature is crucial for the performance of the asset. So there are like this type of AI also based alarms that we have into the like based on a software solution that we have that our software has, and helps when there are, let's say, temperatures which are different from what they are supposed to be. Then alarms kicks in, and then it's also acting as a predictive maintenance feature. So that's one, but also another one which is quite interesting, quite crucial for batteries, and could be provided by also specialized performance management softwares who have like a large fleet of assets. Right now, our performance software comes as also as a part of our solution. So each contract, each battery that we sell has performance management software on it, and it helps with giving like real time, also like also always adjusting in real time the degradation curves, predicted degradation curves of the assets. And yeah, this is based on how the asset has been performing, how is it anticipated to perform later. So those would be like two main features that I like to highlight, which are distinguishing, let's say, for battery storage, but also many other interesting features when it comes to, as I say, like solar, wind, hydro assets as well.
So chase Kaloyan and all of our participants after we finish here to get more info about it. I see we have one question on Slido, but do we have first questions from the audience before we move on to that one? If not,
Don't be shy, raise the hand.
okay, let's start with this one then. Where does the CE region stand in terms of real-time data provided by TCOs and DCOs compared to the rest of Europe? How is this topic treated in legislation? For the second part of this question, unfortunately, we don't have with us Mr. Dimitar Kairako from Schoenherr, who was to join us today, but couldn't be here today. But let's start first with the first part of the question. Nikola, maybe you could help us there.
I'll try. I'm not an expert in the real-time data provided by the TSOs.
Okay.
But I don't think that that sea region is different in terms of quality and in terms of way of providing this data, because there are a lot of European regulations that are basically regulating also the data provision from the TSOs. So this process is centrally managed, and I think that in order to respect and to obey these regulations, our TSO is also publishing all the data that is required. It's another question whether, I mean, there is a data that is out of the scope of the regulations and it could be also shared. This is maybe kind of a business solution, business decision. But in terms of transparency data, you know that there is an N3 transparency portal and all the TSO are publishing there, and there is a regulation that is covering this. So I think that sea region stands quite well from TSO perspective. For DSOs, unfortunately, I don't have expertise enough to answer.
Maybe
Maybe
Peter,
my colleagues.
Kaloyan, you are users of this data. Briefly, what's your experience?
Yeah, so on the TSO side, unfortunately, I can't agree. So the market data, especially for the balancing energy prices, is not published. So this would be good if this would be published as it is the case, let's say, in Western Europe. But for DSOs, for example, to get the metering data in real time from the DSOs, this is an issue everywhere, you know. So it's
not just a sea region, you're saying.
No, it's big hurdle to get this data, and this is something that will have to change in the future so that we will be able to really harness this flexibility that is out there.
Kaloyan, your
Yeah,
views?
I like to. I would actually agree with Peter on that. It would be, I'd say, also crucial in terms of TSOs here to be more transparent in terms of how they would procure balancing energy, to publish this type of data as well. And I think something which would actually help the Southeast Europe region is also that most of the countries in the region are going to be soon to be coupled to the N3 framework for Marine Picasso, which is like platforms of how to procure AFR, MFR. So that is probably something which would bring, I think, more transparency. Most of the countries are scheduled by the end of the year, being Bulgaria, Romania, Greece, Croatia. I think only Hungary already formally announced that they would delay it to 26. But of course, there might be some potential delays, but the plan as of now is this, and I think this is maybe a step to bring more transparency.
In the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have more questions? If not,
I have a question. Because we didn't touch the topic of cybersecurity a little bit deeper. And with all these real-time data and access to metering data, including can be some kind of personal information, how you use the devices and what access do you have to that. So this is something that's coming in the future. It will be a concern for DCOs, what kind of data they release, and on TCOs exactly on substation location, importance to the grid and so on. They're reluctant to give that information. So how do we go around this? Do you have an idea what kind of data is needed to operate these assets and still preserve the security of the grid, let's say, in cybersecurity terms?
who would like to dip their toes into cybersecurity now?
I mean, this is one of the top questions, I guess, so thanks for asking. When we are moving from this conventional centralized generation into distributed generation sources, and on top of that, we are adding many charging stations and other assets. Of course, there is increasing importance of IT security because more or less all these distributed energy resources are going to be connected to one or another energy management system. And for example, in UK, they did a test a few months ago. They were testing how IT secure are EV charging stations, for example. And we could see in the last few years a huge increase of different manufacturers of these charging stations and many different models and solutions. So the pace of development was very fast, but many times for the cost of IT security. And these experts were actually able to hack into these EV charging stations very easily. So there were many design flaws from IT security perspective that even allow them to access the backends controlling thousands or even millions of such EV charging stations. So now imagine that there is a hack into a backend that has a control over millions of such charging stations, and somebody switches on or off all these charging stations at the same time. So this can be a serious issue for the TSO now to manage this, to prevent the blackout, because there is a sudden change in the grid that nobody expected. And as we could see, in the recent years, hackers from Russia or from other shady countries, it is a serious threat. So we have to take this into account and design systems that are IT secure. For us, for example, for our flexibility management platform CyberNoc, we have done many security audits in the past years, and we have this each year. Because just in Austria, for example, with EVN, we are now managing close to 100 megawatts of flexibility, providing balancing services. And for example, if this could be hacked, there are hydropower plants connected to the system. There is also pump hydro storage. And if something goes wrong, there are serious implications. Also flooding can happen and so on. So it's not
it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to add to answer to Mariana's question? If not, I can see we have another one on Slido, but I think it's perfect for networking, actually.
Absolutely, because we are already 15 minutes into the coffee break.
Yes.
So fine, Martti.
We don't
And
want to
ask
stand
you
between
personally.
you and your coffee. So thank you, gentlemen, for this discussion. Thank you all. A big round of applause for everyone on the stage.